Hello there. Many times I'm told it looks like I've just done a one-shot and done kind of video, a single take, that's what they call that. And then last time I made you a video, why, I confessed that it took 5 times. Well, those 5 times weren't scripted, and neither is this, and I have precisely one shot at it. There's a Japanese saying, Ichigo Ichie, one meeting, one chance. So here we go. I'm going to start with the story, because don't all good stories start with a story? A customer called me looking for a blend of tobacco that has not been made, I'm sure, since the early 60s. God bless and help the man. He's even older than I am. Well, his father smoked old Briar when he was a little boy, and he remembered the smell of it, and he's remembering his father. You always do. And so he asked if I knew about the blend. I did know about the blend because we have an empty tin at the shop we use for storing important things. And, I looked on tobaccoreviews.com to see if I could find any info about old Briar. There wasn't any to be had. It's so old, nobody smoked any who's still alive. Except for one man, our friend Parker from Pipe Appeal. And if you're not watching his videos, you're missing out. Beautiful production values. Is that what they call that? They're exquisite videos. Seriously. I am not overstating the case when I call them exquisite. Martin White has beautiful videos, but Parker's are exquisite. Well, I saw that Parker had opened a tin of old Briar, and that he had raked a pipe through it the way he does. It's just, what a moment. And I figured he'd smoked it. So I had dropped a note on that video asking him what its composition was and what it tasted like, because I felt I could trust his experience and his judgment. Even though he's a young man, he's a good young man. And Parker said, well, why don't you drop me an email? And I did. And he asked for my mailing address. And I figured, hey, he's going to send me a little of that so that I can try it out. Bless him. Look at the box he sent. It's bigger than my head. Sure enough, besides folders and folders and tins and tins, I ain't kidding about tens and tens either. Yep. Good old Codgerbacker. He sent me some folders of things. What do they call those? Pouches these days. Oh, and there's some wee stuff in here. Here's some old Briar from 1955. And here is some Bond Street from the 1940s. He knew that I liked Bond Street and grieved for the fact that it was gone. Oh, and Sir Walter Raleigh Aromatic. 3 pouches. One of Executive Mixture, which is the same as, well, it's that birch flavoring. And then Bond Street. And there's some other things in here besides. I was going to save this to show you later, but I'm not going to save it to show you later. I'm going to show it to you now. The reason my father always shopped for Christmas gifts during his lunch break on Christmas Eve was that he couldn't stand to wait to give us the good things he had chosen for us. And he would walk into Sears and choose absolutely perfectly every time. Did he go shopping a lot? No. He listened and he thought. Wisdom. He sent me, Parker did, this. Look at the grain in that little beauty. Look at it. Just gorgeous. Never been smoked. Pink. Yes. This is the K. Woody drinkless system. Gleaming metal. Am I going to smoke this tonight? No. I am saving this pipe, Parker, and all of these beautiful tobaccos that you have sent me. I'm saving them for Easter. We just finished up a fast called the Rogation of the Ninevites, wherein we fast and pray for 3 days for our country and for the world. And that means in 2 weeks or so, it'll be Lent. And I want to save this for Easter. It's only, it's the 31st of March this year. Being from the Indian Syriac Church, we keep their calendar, and they do the Western Easter date, which frankly is a little more astronomically accurate. Oh, And look, here's some 1950s half and half. His generosity. Now, that I'm weak and sinful, but I'm not stupid. And I'm going to smoke that before Lent gets here. Okay, so I'm going to put these away. Antique pipe cleaners. Oh, and I didn't show you this, and I meant to, because it's really important. An entire package of old Briar. So, what is tonight's video about, besides the excellence of our dear friend? Well, it's about opening that little gold foil pouch and testing the old Briar. I'll be doing two things as I test it. And the first of those things is examining what it looks like. And I am not skilled, and my hands tremble, as you have seen, so I'm not going to hold a pipe or hold the camera while I do it. I'm going to be doing it off camera, but right in front of you, so there. And here comes the part where, aren't these neat? Look at those. Yeah, that's from turn of the last century, and they still work. Proof you can't wear them out. Not from reading through them. Old Briar, 1955. Here we go. First to examine, and then to smoke. And of course, my fingers are shaking. Someone once told me that I could probably thread a sewing machine while it's running. Well, if I could synchronize my vibration with the needle, yes, probably. It's about as fast. What are you doing, Tyger? I'm very carefully cutting into this package. I don't expect that I shall seal it again. Ah, ha, ha. Now we are pouring the contents out onto the table. The pieces are about that long, and they're cut about that wide. So, small pieces. That was the style. It isn't anymore. And then you've got some big pieces, and it mostly looks like burley. There might be a little red Virginia in there. Let's give her a sniff. Pat, I think you'd call it soapy. I don't think it's soapy, but I think you'd call it that. I swear it's a floral essence. Okay, I'm going to get a pipe. And what pipe am I going to get? I'm going to get out my 1920s Charatan underbore. There's no need to fear. Underbore is here. I could have a glass of sherry afterwards. Wouldn't that be nice? The fast just ended. That's a pretty pipe, too. I have some of the nicest things, and it's because I have some of the nicest friends. God alone knows why. He knows their hearts. And alas, he knows mine too. I saw a meme just a couple of hours ago. It showed a crowd of crazy looking people. It was a cartoon meme. Showed a crowd of crazy looking people. And they were yelling, Orthodox Christians are the worst. And then there's two Orthodox Christians at the bottom. And one says to the other, I'm the worst. And the other one replies, no, it's me. There is a prayer by St. John Chrysostom that we say before communion. And it goes, I believe, O Lord, and confess that thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God, come into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the chief. And I'll stop there because I just said the salient words. Of whom I am the chief. Do you know, I've told him, you're saying those words to God, and he knows whether you really believe them or not. So maybe you'd really better believe them, or just don't say them. Well, if they just don't say them, all of a sudden everybody around them's saying them. There's that pressure, this good pressure, because they and I and you all need to believe that we're the worst. Okay? But my friends, I think, are the best. Best and worst may be not relative, but in fact relational. Anybody that can love me, you, us, has to be a pretty good person. Okay, I've got it loaded up, and I'm going to light it with this Bic instead of my Zippo, because I want that cleaner shot at the flavor. All right. Now, I'm going to say this about that. If my pipe tool tonight is made by K-Bar, if mixture 79 tasted good, it would taste a bit like this. Sort of. I am thinking it will be difficult to match this precisely. Why? Do you know that tobacco grows in the ground? It does. And it is a beautiful synergy of earth and weather, which comes from the sky. Earth and sky together, and the waters under the heaven, they all go in to making every plant, and tobacco is a plant. And though earth and sky, the waters under the heavens, are slow to change they do. If I had a zoo and it had a panda in it, I would name him Ray, because Panda Ray. According to Heraclitus, the philosopher, Panda Ray, everything flows, everything changes. He was right. He flourished about the same time as Lodza and Moses. There is a slight caramelly thing happening, and I'm sure that's from the barley. A little tang from that red Virginia. And then that floral essence, which might well be jasmine. Ooh, we'll talk about jasmine too. That might well be jasmine. Now, this has run on for 23 minutes so far, and it's not likely to stop anytime soon. And so if at any point you want to ring out, good night, God bless you. Okay. Let's set this down. I will finish it later, but I'm not going to finish it now. Jasmine tea. Tea and tobacco have a lot in common. Almost anyone who drinks tea and smokes a pipe will tell you tea and tobacco have a great deal in common. One of their great commonalities is that both readily absorb flavors. Jasmine tea is made by putting the tea leaves in a warehouse near jasmine blossoms. No kidding. Box of tea, bundle of jasmine beside it. The jasmine doesn't go into the tea. It need not go into the tobacco, I think. If we want it subtle, we can just lay the jasmine leaf or jasmine blossoms beside the tobacco leaves, and they'll pick up some of that flavor. That's how Jamaican cigar leaf is cured. They put it in a warehouse to cure, along with Jamaican allspice and fruit. And it picks up the smell of that spice and that fruit. It becomes very subtle in the tobacco. Then, of course, there's Jamaican earth, Jamaican sky, and the Jamaican waters under the heavens. Well, there. I shall be able to replicate this. I shall. Will I do it in the way that I said? Possibly. By doing so, one is not adding anything to the tobacco. No kidding. You're not adding anything to the tobacco. Nothing new or extra is going into the tobacco. The trick will be to find tobacco in that cut. It's burley, mostly. And I see some red Virginia, and that's fine. Really is. It's a good mixture. And I would say it's probably 80-20 burley to Virginia. That's a good mixture. It's cool burning. There's no scorching going on, so that won't be a problem. All right. In this past week, besides the wonderful box from Parker, and thank you again, son, that's beyond generous. I also received a DVD of the movie Black Robe, which I have not yet seen. I look forward to that. And it was recommended to me by a friend, a former Army Ranger and retired Knoxville firefighter. There's a brave man. And I am proud to call him not only friend, but brother. And I also received from a friend down in Sarasota, Florida, the gift of 2 custom-turned pens, one made from Bethlehem olive wood and the other from acrylic, beautiful green acrylic that he makes himself. He pours the chemicals himself. And that's just marvelous. People's generosity overwhelms me. And what have I returned to them? Well, I will tell you. Not nearly enough. I listen. I laugh at the appropriate times. And I may have something to say to them. But if nothing else, I will listen. All right. If that's the gift you've got to give, then make it a good gift. When you're listening to people, shut your mouth and shut your mind's mouth too. Just listen to them. Don't be thinking up what you're going to say. You may not be called to say anything, depending on the situation. Just listen when you listen. That requires some degree of inner peace. That too can be acquired. The first step in that is remember that you're just you. And the second step in that is remembering that God loves you, and He always has. There's not been a time when God didn't love you. Doesn't mean He's satisfied with the things you do, maybe. But He does love you. Even if you're the chief of sinners. And maybe you ought to treat people that way too, you know. Sometimes a man has important friends, and you need to treat him a little differently. Well, we all have the most important friend of all, don't we? Okay, well, that's what about gifts, recent gifts. And that's what about this delicious old Briar pipe tobacco, manufactured by U.S. Tobacco back in the 1950s. And that's about what I'm going to be sending my customer, including, Parker, forgive me, I'm going to send him that package you sent to me because it was his dad. I know you'll understand. That's all. That's it. It's late. I'm going to finish this pipe. And because fast is over, I might have a glass of sherry. Okay, go to bed.